Welcome back to Just Chattin', and this is the series of videos we do on Thursday and Sunday evenings just for our own entertainment. So, Audie the bad cat is not here with us at the moment. He's outside prowling the neighborhood. This is the first time he's really been out for more than a few minutes on end for maybe the last week. He's been in sort of self-imposed lockdown because it was rainy out and he doesn't like the rain. And as you know, it's all my fault anyway, so what can I say? So he's enjoying a little bit of freedom. Before we get started today without Audie, let me start with yellow for Catherine, for Lex's mom, for everyone who's fighting cancer. We wish you all the very best. We have a couple of things that we are going to get into today, and the sock puppet is back. Yes, this is my original sock puppet, the one that Audie was dragging around on the floor and chewing, and the one that I replaced, but I still kind of like this one. He's sort of a goofball. Well, the reason the sock puppet is back is because the sock puppet is back in the news. Yes, he is proceeding with yet another iteration of this bizarre court case he is waging against the British government. And remember, the British government operates in the name of the king. So essentially, he's suing his pa. And this is because he is now challenging the decision that went against him at the level of the appeal court. And he got first he was denied, now he has been granted. And it looks to me, I'm not a lawyer, even if I were a lawyer, I'm not a UK lawyer, but it looks to me like he's simply brought different grounds for the appeal, because they have now cited that the reason for the appeal is because RAVIC, and that is the Department of Government that regulates who does and does not get state-funded security, did not abide by their own policies. So we will get into that later, but I did want to give you a heads up on that, because here's how it's been going. I want to sue you. No. I want to sue you. No. I want to sue you. No. And on and on and on. He's simply not willing to take no for an answer, and he's going to go back as many times as he has to, no matter how much time and money the government has to spend in defending against this nonsense. He's going to go back till he gets the answer he wants. So, yeah, spoiled toddler much? All right, we're going to take a quick break for the intro, and then we'll come back. Before we get on to the sock puppet's never-ending saga of lawsuits, I thought we'd take a minute and talk about what's going on in the absence of any real controversy emanating from Montecito. Nutmeg and the sock puppet have been quiet. I, for one, have been just relishing the din of the silence coming out of California. I think this is great. But it's starting to look like I'm the only one, because the so-called royal experts not having anything real, because, you know, Nutmeg is not wandering through the car parks waving at the random paparazzi. The sock puppet is not greeting troops as if he were the King of Spain. So they have to make stuff up. And the stuff that has been coming out in the news is just ridiculous and bizarre. So let me start with, oh, by the way, all of these articles are listed in the video notes. The Montecito Journal, I know. Never heard of that before, did you? I didn't either. I would imagine that outside of Montecito, no one has heard of this periodical. And by the way, I don't even know if it's a newspaper or a magazine. I looked it up and I saw indications for both. So who knows? Maybe it's a news magazine. Anyway, they have come out with a story that Nutmeg and the Sock Puppet are looking around for possible schools for the possibly mythical putative children. And the schools they are looking at cost in the range of $50,000 to $60,000 a year. And the Montecito Journal, with the pen of someone named Richard, and I hope I'm not getting this wrong, Mynards, who formerly worked for the Daily Mirror and the Daily Mail in the UK, so maybe he's got an axe to grind, has just excoriated them for being hypocritical, that all of their, just Meghan, just Harry, we're just folks, but they're perfectly willing to spend in excess of $100,000 a year, because remember, there are allegedly 2 children, to keep their little sprogs off in very exclusive private schools. Now, first of all, if this were actually happening, yeah, they would deserve some pushback for this, because the whole idea of not wanting their children raised in the royal family, not wanting titles for their children, which they went back on later, and now putting children into very exclusive private schools. Obviously, there are a lot of contradictions here, but we are used to contradictions coming from Nutmeg and the Sock Puppet, so we are not surprised. We have no reason to be surprised. Of course, they say one thing and do the other. They've been doing that for years. We've been watching. But are they, in fact, doing this? I read the article and I could not find any particular schools mentioned. I could not find anything in the article stating that they had been seen at X school, Y school, Z school. No. And I'm starting to wonder if there's any truth to this at all, like any truth, or if there's perhaps a grain of truth. Like maybe they sat out in the backyard drinking their mint juleps in their bare feet and said, wouldn't it be nice if we put the putative children into school somewhere? Is that all there was to it? Because there are no facts in this story. There's nothing verifiable. Nothing. Yet this is a story. And it's not just a story in Montecito. The wire services have picked up on it. So, what? I mean, I don't even get it. It's like when they are being good little doobies and keeping their mouths shut and keeping their heads down, it's like other people are making up stories. I personally, this is just my opinion, I would really like to see that stop, because all that does is encourages Nutmeg and the Sock Puppet to actively grab headlines, and why not? If people are going to write about them, whether they're hiding under the bed or prancing naked through the park, they might as well have the joy of prancing naked through the park. It only fuels their own public relations narrative that they are victimized no matter what they do. So this is my argument against it. But that one, maybe it's authentic information, maybe it isn't. But there's nothing I've seen that indicates that it is. And not even like the circumstantial evidence of the name of a school being dropped somewhere along the way. So next up, Kinsey Schofield, and apparently she is a royal expert. Not sure how. It's important to remember that the outside world has not really had that kind of personal journalistic access to Nutmeg and the sock puppet for like 5 years. So I don't know. Where is Kinsey getting her information from? That's what I'd like to know. Nevertheless, royal expert claims that the sock puppet's behavior is an effort to punish the people around him. It's like, well, okay, fine. Kinsey, pony up your psychology degree first, because this is somewhere royal experts really have no business going. They don't know any of the details about the people they're talking about. They don't have personal access. It's all pure speculation. And when they start getting into the relative mental health or lack thereof of the people involved, again, I start to wonder, who are they? What are their qualifications for doing this? They are putting forth their own personal opinions, which are apparently no more valid than yours or mine. But we're not calling ourselves royal experts, and the mainstream media is not quoting us. Goodness. And the third in this list of non-story stories from alleged royal experts is from Angela Levin. Now, Angela Levin at one point did have contact with the sock puppet, but that contact ended more than 5 years ago, and I don't even see any evidence that she and Nutmeg have been in the same room together, so you got to wonder about that. She is asserting that Nutmeg is having difficulty finding executives to help her out with this American Riviera orchard. That is hard to say, because she's so difficult. Well, Angela, we know she's difficult, but do you have any legitimate evidence for this conflation? Nutmeg lacking staff, Nutmeg is difficult, or is this just opinion? So we got 3 of them here. And my objection to all of this is, first of all, I don't believe any of these 3 people have any inside information. In fact, the only one of the 3 that I think might have had inside information is Angela Levin, and that's from a long time ago. So why are they still making headlines with their suppositions? Why is this out there? And I understand that in part it's to fill the void. If Nutmeg and the sock puppet are not giving the media news, the media is going to go elsewhere and extract that news by force, if necessary, from anybody they think is willing to talk to them. And there are a lot of people apparently willing to talk to them. Most of these people have, well, no more standing than you or I, quite frankly. They are sharing their own opinions. And that, in essence, is my objection to what's going on. This is fake news. This is clickbait. This is just the opinions, the private opinions of a bunch of people who have no evidence other than, Nutmeg and the sock puppet's rather dramatic track record, but no evidence for the actual points they're trying to make in the moment. Schools. What schools are the alleged putative children allegedly going to? And by the way, I don't believe that for an instant, but you all know why. Who is the sock puppet punishing? Why? Well, obviously he's punishing the royal family, but why? Where do we get this from? Is this based on the legitimate evaluation of a legitimate mental health expert? Or is this just some royal reporter's personal opinion? I read through and I can't find anything to indicate it is not just a personal opinion. Same thing with Angela Levin. And not a week goes by when Angela Levin doesn't have a new personal opinion. It's hitting a point where this woman is just, everything she thinks is making it into the press. I'm surprised we don't know how she takes her coffee in the morning. So the problem with this, as I say, is it floods the media with non-stories, floods the media with clickbait. It's confusing to the general public, and it bolsters Nutmeg and the Sock Puppet's contentions that they're going to be reported on even if they do nothing, which again leads to that inevitable, so why don't we do something dramatic, which of course none of us really want to see. So I wanted to throw that out there, and that is why I am so down on these so-called royal experts, because if they had something real to say, if they were like Tom Bauer and had done extensive research, interviewed scores of people, that's one thing. But these folks, I don't think so. I really don't think so. So let's move on to the Sock Puppet's resurrected lawsuit, because that's really the only way I can frame this. He wants government financed security, and he has been fighting for this for 2.5 years, and every time he loses, he just goes back again and again and again. And this time, he has been granted permission to appeal the decision. Now, again, not a lawyer, not a UK lawyer. So it looks like the first time they slammed the case down and said, you will not be able to appeal. It was on a different basis. And now his apparently new basis for the appeal is that RAVIC. And again, that is the agency responsible for deciding who does and who does not get this publicly financed security, that RAVIC didn't abide by their own guidelines when they denied him security. Well, who knows what that's all about? It looks to me like it's a cross between clutching at straws and leaping on technicalities. He's been told no. He doesn't accept no. And he has found a judge to agree to give him yet another bite at the apple. Now, shame on that judge for doing it, really, because somebody needs to put an end to this, because it's costing the UK taxpayers money. Now, the last time, the way they left the legal process was the Sock Puppet's claims were denied, and he was charged with paying 90% of the reasonable costs the government encountered in fighting this case. That, to me, sounds reasonable. Also, at the time, they had said no appeals, sorry, done like dinner. But another judge has reopened it. I'm not surprised. I mean, no offense to my British friends. I'm not talking about you folks, and I hope you know that. But there is a certain social class in the UK that just plain thinks having a title makes you better than everybody else. And you get into these high levels of the government, and yeah, they seem to be very much inclined to buy into that the Sock Puppet, by virtue of who he is is just going to get to bring this case forever and ever. And in fact, it may not even be just by virtue of who he is. It might be simply by virtue of the fact that he can and will pay for it, because his legal fees have got to be astronomical at this point, yet he's still paying for it. And somebody somewhere really needs to just stop and say, no, I thought they did that, but it will be going back into court. But here's the interesting thing. This is something I wanted to share with you. And by the way, this article is cited in the video notes below. I just want to read you one line from it. Prince Harry had wanted the appeal to be held by the end of July, partly due to fears that the ruling would influence the approach other countries take to his security. So now we have it. We have it in black and white. We have this, that was GB News, I think. Anyway, in the video notes. This is all about the sock puppet and Nutmeg, because she wants it as much as he does, if not more so, preserving his right to go to other foreign countries and be greeted like a visiting royal, even when he goes there as a private citizen. They still want the red carpet. They still want the bells and whistles. They still want that IPP status. That is what is going on. It's not about the UK. And those of us looking at this from the Megxit community have all been saying it's not about the UK. The UK is what Vietnam was back in the 1960s. It's the small battleground in which the two superpowers are waging their war. Yeah, that's what's going on here. It's not about bringing his wife and children back to the UK, because we know the little woman's never going to go. And we know if she has anything to say about it, the putative children are never going to go either. This has nothing to do with this. This is about other countries. Well, guess what? One of those countries is right here, the US, where they are living now. And what he is looking for is getting the UK to agree that he is entitled to this higher level of security so that he can go back home, I do mean home, to California, and then demand that the National Guard show up on his doorstep to protect him, that the Montecito Police Department, maybe the FBI, are all out there to do their coffee runs and pick up their dry cleaning. That is exactly what's going on. And finally, it has been released officially through this case. So I think that is extremely important. Obviously, I have no desire to see this case go anywhere. I think it should be thrown out. Publicly funded security is something you get when you're a working royal. Beatrice and Eugenie don't get it, And by the way, they are showing up occasionally for events, which is a lot more than the sock puppet is doing. They don't get it. There you go. He stepped down. One of our viewers, and this was at least 2 or 3 years ago, had written in the comments, that's like saying, gee, I'm going to quit my job, but I want to keep the company car. It doesn't work that way. So, yeah, the UK really needs to understand this is more than just what's going on for them. Because, of course, my fear is if he continues to just beat them down over and over again by bringing case after case after case, who knows, he might get lucky. Or they might say, well, what difference does it make? He's not in the UK anymore, so we can grant it to him and he'll use it once a year, and that's the end of it. And I wonder if that might not be the kind of thinking that a very weary judge might succumb to. You know, in which case they'd make the decision and we're stuck paying for it. And, oh, by the way, I, as an American, if it goes down that way, I will protest that with every fiber of my being. I will write letters to everyone in politics in the U.S. I might even create my own Duchess of God only knows what letterhead just to draw a little more attention. But of course I will protest that because we should not be bound by something that goes on in the UK. We pretty much settled that question in 1776. So that's what I have for you. I wish the whole thing with the sock puppet was better news. I wish this thing would just be allowed to die. But he's not going to let it. It's like a little kid screaming, gimme, 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 till somebody finally says, oh, here you go, shut up. Maybe it worked for him when he was a toddler. Maybe that's why he's doing it today. All right, that's what I have for you. We are going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out. I hope to see you all next time. And in the meanwhile, have a terrific day.